Hey, 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 how are you guys? Welcome, welcome. We're going to be going live in just a couple minutes. Drop down in the chat where you're from. I'd love to know. Welcome in the chat. We got TikTok going, we got YouTube going. I'm going to get Facebook going and then Zoom going. All the places, all the streams, all the places. Amazing. How are you guys today?
Recording in progress.
This has been a crazy Monday for me already before 8 a.m. today. It has been crazy. Linda, Ashley, hello. Let me know where you're from in the chat. I'm going to get started here in just a moment. Welcome, everybody. Let me share my screen. And I would love to know in the chat where you guys are from. So that I can connect with you. And if it looks like I'm looking multiple places, I've got TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and Zoom. So this is going to be good today. Riley, San Antonio. Oh, nice. I'm like your neighbor. I'm from Arkansas. I'm in Arkansas, so practically neighbors, right? All right. I'm going to get started in just another minute. We have a lot to go through today, so I'm excited. And now let's see. So I'm curious. Yeah, exactly. All right, Sandy, Riley, Pam, Mary, Debbie, Deanne. Sandy's from North Carolina. Deanne from Iowa, previously North Carolina. Deanne, you might be Sandy's neighbor, ex-neighbor. We don't know. Maybe. That'd be funny. But yes, welcome, welcome. All right. Facebook, I don't know why I have to update these posts each time, but we're just going to go. Okay. Debbie from Michigan. Very nice. It's probably maybe getting cold up there. All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. I always like to start off with a prayer because I'm a faith-based person. And so I will start us off with a prayer. We have a lot to cover today, and I'm excited to get started. So let's do this. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for our time together today and just the ability to walk through this information, to talk about the 4 seasons of grief, to share a message of hope and encouragement with the people who are here, and to make a positive impact out there in the world of widows and widowers and grief. We ask for your wisdom and your guidance and just the ability to know that you have called us for more, that we still have a plan and a purpose, and that we are not forgotten. In Jesus' name, amen. So thank you for joining me in that. And as we get started here, I'll just give you a quick agenda. So I am going to go through a version of my story. I know we have several new people that are joining us that maybe haven't heard it or haven't heard much detail about it. And then I'm going to walk through some of the problems that we face as widows and widowers, the solution to that, walking through the 4 seasons of grief, and then would like to invite you to join me in the Brave Widow Academy. Our next group is kicking off next Monday on November the 10th, which is super exciting. This will be our second round of the academy, although technically our third round, because I did a mastermind and it was from there the academy was born. So this is going to be a really amazing time. So in the next 60 minutes, okay, you're going to know what your season of grief is. I'm going to teach you what it has taken me years to piecemeal together. And you will also know your one next step, and your only job will be is to decide if you want help with taking that next step and the ones to come. So if you want to take a free quiz, you can go over to bravewidow.com, and up at the top, it'll say take the free grief seasons of grief quiz here. You can take the quiz. It takes like 2 or 3 minutes. You can know what season of grief you are in, but most people can typically tell as we walk through the content here. So if you're not with me in Zoom or on YouTube, you won't be able to see my screen. But for those of you who can, this is a picture of my family, the Christmas before my husband passed. And we were married almost 20 years. We were together 20 years, married almost 20 years. And we had both been sick with COVID that morphed into double pneumonia. And in July of 2021, I watched as an ambulance took my husband and my best friend from our home, never to return. I'd worked in healthcare for 20 years at this point, and I told my kids not to worry because hospitals are where people go to get better. And I actually remember feeling relieved when the ambulance came and took him to ICU. He would spend the next 11 days in ICU. About half of that time would be on a ventilator. And because I was also recovering from COVID and pneumonia, I wasn't allowed to visit him in the hospital. But one day I was called to the hospital and asked to meet with the attending physician so that we could talk about the next steps on this road to recovery. But ultimately, there would be none. In fact, there would be no warm smiles. There would be no kindness. There would be no warmth. There would just be the physician that looks at me across the table and says, "We think your husband is brain dead." And in that moment, my whole world stopped. And I try to wrap my mind around, like, well, wait, how did we get here? Like, he was getting better. The stats, the lab results were looking better. And how did we get here? And how am I supposed to go home and tell our 4 teenagers that their dad had died? How am I supposed to do that? Nathan ultimately would die 3 weeks short of our 20th wedding anniversary. I had already planned a big celebration. I had invited family and friends over to celebrate with us for our 20th years. And if you can see my screen, you can see I already ordered the t-shirts. 20 years married to my best friend. And so 3 weeks later, I would still have family and friends over, but it would be to honor the life that he lived. And I would be instead of facing that day as a wife, excited and celebrating our time together, I would face that day crushed as a widow and now solo mom to 4 teenagers. This is November of 22. This garden that you see, this flower bed that you see on my screen was supposed to be a memorial I built for Nathan that I thought was beautiful. And I put a little park bench out there and I thought, oh, it's going to be nice. I'm going to be able to sit out there and just honor him and think about how beautiful our time was together. And as I would go sit out there, instead of feeling comforted by this memorial garden, I felt tormented by it. It was just a reminder to me that he was never coming back. And so I would just sit out there and just cry. And I remember particularly in the fall, one afternoon where I was like clutching my chest and I was bent over and my chest hurt so bad. Like I was crying so hard. My chest was tight and it hurt. And I remember thinking, like, this is it. This is how people die of a broken heart. Like, this is how it happens. And as the tears stopped, and I would sit back up and I was just like surveying the yard there, I remember thinking about my 4 kids and thinking about how sad it was that even though technically they had only lost one parent, effectively they had lost 2 because even though I was alive, I felt dead on the inside. And so I remember that I had a choice that I had to make. And that if I was going to have to live another 30 or 40 or 50 years, I was going to have to do something different because I physically wasn't going to be able to survive this way. Like this was going to be the end of me. And so I decided sitting on that park bench that I would figure out some way, somehow to get on the other side of grief. And so I remember sitting there, I closed my eyes and I said these words out loud like, Nathan, I love you and I miss you and I can't live like this anymore. I have to be able to move forward. And I stood up and I walked inside. And that moment has been the catalyst that has started a journey I never anticipated. I immediately started reading everything I could about grief. I interviewed hundreds of widows. I started a podcast called The Brave Widow Show, where I interviewed some of those widows on the show and asked them what helped them. How did they get to a point of finding joy again? How did they get on the other side of grief? I am so pleased to share that I've gone on an amazing journey of healing and of intentionally rebuilding my life, that I've done things I never thought I would do. I've become a real estate investor. I met Dave Ramsey in person and thanked him. I've traveled to 5 new countries. I'm now a public speaker. I've done all of these things that if you would have asked me 4 years ago, I couldn't have imagined doing them. I've been able to do. I went through and became certified through the accredited faith-based coaching academy. I also became certified through the Grief Recovery Institute. And my approach in serving widows and in helping people is a faith-based approach that combines psychology, counseling tools, coaching tools, and spirituality, and helping people not only heal their heart and go through grief recovery, but to begin to build a life that they can love again. Because what I wish someone would have explained to me is that our old life is gone. We want to go back to the past. We want to go back to the person that we had, and we want to go back to feeling normal, like the way that we used to feel. But what nobody explained to me is that our old life is over. Our old life is in ashes. And we get to decide if we're going to build something new, which is exactly what I help widows and widowers do. So you are here with me. How do you know are you in the right place? You're like, what is this about? So you are in the right place if you are tired of feeling stuck, numb, or lost, and you know that you want more out of life than just getting by. If you want clarity, confidence, and connection. If maybe you've tried therapy, you've tried grief groups, you've tried giving it time and you still feel hollow on the inside. If you're tired of waiting for it to just get better, for you to feel better, or you feel stuck and you're tired of just giving it time, you're in the right place. You are not in the right place, okay, If you would rather just wait for time to make things better, if you are looking for a quick fix, if you want the magic pill, if you are in a mindset that you can't do anything different, it will never get better, you're not even going to try, this is not for you. Okay. So, after now having coached hundreds of widows and after mapping out these 4 seasons of grief and creating this roadmap, the if I had to boil down, like, why is this so hard? Why can nobody tell me what I need to do to feel better? What I need to do to actually be able to enjoy life again, or if that's possible, why is it so hard? What is the problem? Well, the problem is that as widows or grievers, we feel lost, we feel unsure, and we feel lonely. Those are the top 3 problems that all of my clients tend to face. And for me, the most frustrating thing is that there was no roadmap. It's like, okay, and I teach a grief recovery class. This is an evidence-based program. This is the only program outside of Brave Widow I put my name behind. I love this program, Grief Recovery Method. I don't care who you take it from. If you haven't done it, go do it. I will be happy to teach it to you. This is an amazing program, but nobody tells you what to do after that. Okay? Nobody tells you what to do after counseling, after the grief groups, after you learn about grief recovery. What do I do next? That's like the number one question that my clients have. What is the roadmap? And so I'm going to teach you today the RISE framework, which are the 4 seasons of grief that give us our roadmap to building a life beyond loss. Okay. I found that book at my work and would love to take that course. Jenny, do it. Stop thinking about it. Take the course. It's very inexpensive. And totally worth it. So, okay, the first season of grief. Are you guys ready? We're going to go through the RISE framework, RISE. So the first season of grief is rawness. And this is our R and our RISE. And so I want you to type in the chat if this sounds like you. So rawness is typically for people who are early on in grief, but not always. Sometimes we get stuck here. And rawness, this first season of grief, we are in survival mode. We've been devastated by the loss of our person, and we are just trying to survive. Our nervous system may feel like it's on fire. It's hard to think. It's hard to make decisions. Like, you literally are trying to just survive to get through the next hour, the next day, the next week, the next month. And for some people, their nervous system becomes really hyperactive. You are constantly scanning for danger, or you feel that decisions that you make, the stakes are really high and it becomes difficult to make decisions because you're afraid to make the wrong decision. So when you're in rawness, here are some mistakes that people tend to make. We feel that we need to do more. Type in the chat me if this is you. We feel like we need to do more. We need to be strong. People tell us, oh, you got to be strong, or you got to be strong for your kids, or you got to be strong. You are so strong. Be strong. You have to power through. You have to stay busy, like distract yourself or suppress the grief. Don't think about it too much, or that you need to grieve alone. These are all mistakes that people make in the first season of grief. How many of you have thought these things or been taught them? Like, I can say me. I wish I had a nickel for every time someone told me, like, you have to be strong for your kids. And I wanted to say, like, yeah, duh, I know that. But I wanted somebody to tell me that I didn't have to be strong for them. Like, I wanted someone to say I didn't need to be strong. And so in Brave Widow and what I teach my clients, there are several things that we focus on. We focus on emotional healing, and we start typically here with this program. Okay. It's evidence-based. It's amazing foundation, but we don't stop there. Okay. So we build on top of this foundation the rest of our life. But the number one thing that I recommend people focus on is emotional healing. We also adjust our expectations. So we have all these expectations of things we should be able to do or we used to be able to do that now we're really hard. We adjust that. We work on asking for help or even accepting help. For some people, they have a really difficult time accepting help. We focus on physical and emotional safety, and we also work on developing a routine. Now, I know you're like, wow, that's a lot. And it is a lot. It is a lot, but it also is simple. The way that we teach it and the way that we work through it is simple. And so, if you have identified that you are in this first season of grief, Jenny says, I always feel like I need to grieve alone. Yep, you're totally normal for having felt like that. If you are in this season of grief, if I could just boil it down and tell you one thing to focus on, okay, it's to be gentle with yourself. And I know that might have earned a couple eye rolls or people saying, what does that even mean? But if I had to like summarize everything we work on in this first season of grief, it is to be gentle with yourself, to give yourself grace, to lower the expectations that you have, to minimize what you expect of yourself to do, to not feel like you have to be strong and put on a strong face and power through and do more and more and more. And when we have experienced a traumatic loss, we often feel like we have to do more and more and more because we have all those to-dos, right? We have to call all the companies. We have to get with an attorney. We have to notify the credit card places. We have to do all of these things. And in reality, we need to slow down and create moments of intentional safety. But if there was just one thing that I could invite you to focus on and to do, it would be to be so gentle with yourself. Melanie says, I have to remind myself to do this daily. Yes. Deanne says me. Sandy says me. Yes. Okay, so that's the first season of grief is rawness, that's survival mode. The second season now that we're going into is isolation. And if rawness is survival mode, isolation is maintenance mode. Jenny says, I think I'm still in that first season. And Jenny, that's okay. So in isolation, you may no longer feel like you're in survival mode, like you have your feet underneath you, you have your new routine, you can pretty much handle the day-to-day of what goes on in life. We have this new routine in place, and maybe you hate it. That was me. I got to a point where I was working, I was getting the kids where they needed to go, and I was like, is this it? This? Another 40 or 50 years of this? Like, this is my life now? Really, this? Isolation is also called that because I think about in grief that we turn inward because we're trying to survive. We're just trying to make it through the day, right? So we turn inward, we focus on ourselves, we like hibernate in this cave. And then as we start to get our feet underneath us, coming out of that first season, we're like coming out of the cave and we're looking around and it's like, where did everybody go? They've disappeared. The statistic is that widows will lose 75% of their social circle in the first year. Have you guys experienced that? I think for me, it was more like 90% in the first year. And so the season of grief can be incredibly isolating and lonely. And so mistakes that people tend to make in this season of grief is they tend to isolate. They tend to stay in their cave and hibernate. They ghost people that invite them to do things. They join groups that don't fit them or that aren't on the same path as them. And they just wait to feel ready. Like they're just waiting to feel better. I mean, that's what people tell us, right? Like time heals all wounds. How many people have heard that? Type me or put an emoji in the chat if you've heard that. Like, oh, time heals all wounds. Just give it time and you'll feel better. Yeah. Deanne says, I find myself isolating because no one wants to hear I'm sad. Susan, I'm not technically a widow since it was my boyfriend who died, not a husband. Is this program appropriate for me? Susan, yes, you are welcome here. Doesn't matter to me if you were legally married or not. I know people like to debate that. At the end of the day, if this person was your other half, this was your person in life, your ride or die, and they're no longer here, you're welcome here. Jenny, hearing these 2 seasons, I think I'm in this season of isolation. Okay. So those are the mistakes that we can make in isolation. So when we're in isolation, what we want to focus on are things like figuring out who we are now. And this can be really hard because, like for me, for 20 years, it was Emily and Nathan. I didn't know who I was as an individual. I only knew my whole adult life from the time I was 18 was being married. I didn't know who I was without my person. I felt like half of a person or maybe 25% of a person. I didn't feel like a whole person on my own. So we start to explore who you want to be now. We start to explore dreams that are really small. Because in the beginning, you don't want a future without your person. You don't want any future. You can't imagine how could it be possible I could even be happy in the future. What would be the point? They're not here. You want the past. In the beginning, all you want is to go back and maybe to go back and have your person. So trying to think about the future and what that might look like and how it would be possible you could have a good future seems really hard. So we start really small. Okay. We also want to get you plugged in to a community of people who are on the same path as you. Okay. And so you may have noticed, and let me know if this is you, if this resonates, you may have noticed that there's lots of different widow and widower groups that are out there, different Facebook groups, different in-person groups and communities, but they're not all on the same path. And there are lots of groups that will tell you things like, it never gets better. And grief doesn't get better. You just get tougher. You just learn how to deal with it better, but it's not ever going to feel better. And I disagree. Okay. So like I mentioned earlier, you get to decide if you want to build a new life for yourself or if you want to decide that life is never going to get better and it's always going to be this way and you're always going to be sad and depressed and overwhelmed. You get to decide that. That's true. But you want to join a community of people who are on the same journey as you. Okay. That's really important. So if I had to sum up what we do and what we work on in the second season of grief is even just like if I could just give you one thing to focus on, it would be to connect with a friend. And that might be difficult because your family and friends may have disappeared on you, or you may realize you didn't really have friends or people who know how to show up for you. Maybe it means you need to meet people and make a new friend. But it is important that you connect with another human being. We are not meant to grieve alone, even though that may be how we feel and that may be what we were taught. That's not what we were meant to do. Okay. That's the hard part for me. Who am I now without my person? And yes, that's why I separate from those groups. Yeah, that is the hard part. Like, I felt so untethered, like a little boat in the middle of the ocean, just being smacked around by waves of grief. I felt so untethered. Like I had no idea even like which way to turn the boat because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how do I take one next step forward when I don't even know where I'm going. I don't know where I want to go. I want to share just a quick story with one of my clients, Karen. Um, you can actually hear her and watch her full story on the Brave Widow Show, the podcast. And so, what I'm sharing with you is not breaking confidentiality. She's been very open, and I'm grateful that she allowed me to share her story. But when I met Karen, it's been almost a year ago now. It was actually during Black Friday, which is the end of November. And Karen had been grieving for 3.5 years. Okay. So for those of you that think like it's been too long, it's not getting better, you won't be able to, like, nothing is going to help you. I want you to hear she was grieving for 3.5 years. She was overwhelmed being a solo mom. She was struggling with boundaries at home and at work. She had been mandated by her employer to go to counseling. She went to 2 sessions, and her counselor told her she needed to move on and that she needed to get on this road to recovery. So she quit going. She also tried grief groups and felt that that didn't resonate with her. Okay. Within 3 months of working with me and being part of Brave Widow, actually in December, so she signed up at the end of November. In December, her employer sat her down and put her on a performance improvement plan. Does anybody know what that is? If you've worked in the business world, a performance improvement plan is basically a written document where they are telling you you will either change how you show up and behave at work or you will find another job. It's like a wake up call, basically. Okay. Her employers were that frustrated with her. So 3.5 years she'd been struggling. We worked together within the first 90 days. Okay. This is amazing. Within the first 90 days, her employer sets her down again and says, "What are you doing that's different? Like, you are not even the same person. What is it that you're doing that's different? We have to know." And she told him about Brave Widow. And not only did her employer discontinue that performance improvement plan, but they actually sponsored her and paid for her to continue to be part of Brave Widow. So think about this. Somebody who struggled for 3.5 years. I'm not saying she's perfectly healed in 90 days, but the way that she managed her guilt and managed her grief and navigated that was so different in 90 days that not only did she feel a change and she noticed a change, but her employer noticed a change so much that they didn't want her to stop. That they were like, wow, this is like amazing. So, what it helped Karen do was to process her grief, to be armed and equipped with the tools to navigate grief, to rebuild her confidence, to regulate her own emotions, to reset boundaries, and to show up and be a great employee contributing back to their workspace. Deanne says, untethered, that's a great description. And yes, to a pip. Yeah. I've given many pips, unfortunately, in my career. So Karen says, what being part of Brave Widow has meant to me was an answer to a 4-year-long prayer to have found you. And I'm so glad I did because it changed my life and it gave me a new outlook on life in an extremely short amount of time I never expected. But it's happened and here we are. So you can watch Karen's full story on the podcast. You can also see an abbreviated version of her story on my website at bravewidow.com. All right, so we have the first season of grief is rawness. The second season is isolation. The third season is self-discovery. Okay. So self-discovery is where people get into this exploration mode of trying to figure out who you are and what you want and what is possible. And this is the season where most widows are likely to get stuck. And I'm going to explain why that is in just a minute. This is where most people find me, is somewhere between season 2 and season 3, because they get stuck. And some of the mistakes that people make in the season of grief is they feel guilty. They feel guilty for even wanting a future, for thinking that it's possible, for trying to have a future. They give up because it's too hard and awkward and weird. They feel often that they're going backwards, or they'll say things like, I thought I was doing better. Like, I feel like I was doing better, but now all of a sudden I don't know. Now I just feel like I went back to square one. What happened? Have you guys ever thought that? They also hold back a lot because there's a lot of fear and a lot of doubt and a lot of self-consciousness. My self-guilt drives me not to be here. Yeah. Okay. And so in self-discovery, we tend to get caught in this cycle. And so here's why that is. So as you are trying new things, right? So let's say you're coming out of isolation and you're like, okay, I'm facing the reality that if I'm going to live another however many years, potentially, I want to have a life. And so I go out to the movies, or I go hang out with a friend, or I go to a concert and I laugh, or I go and try to do something that's proactive in my life. And then as soon as I go do that thing, a big wave of grief just hits me. And all of these thoughts pour in, which is like, why am I even trying this? What's the point? What am I doing? I'm supposed to be grieving. Why am I trying to do this, right? Or you try to go to a new place and it's hard and awkward and weird and you're nervous about going there and you don't know anyone, and like I could share so many stories. I could go on and on and on about why this is so hard. And so people just tend to give up. They try something new, it's hard and awkward and weird, or they get hit with a wave of grief and they feel like they go right back to where they were. They feel like they've undone all of the healing they did so far, and they get discouraged and they quit, or they don't know exactly what to do. I'm going to butcher this name and I'm deeply sorry. Mirielle says, I feel like I'm in between isolation and self-discovery. Please don't judge me that I know I'm not saying your name correctly. Deanne says, same here between 2 and 3. Susan says, it's triggering to do things alone or with someone else that you usually did with your partner. Yes. And that's what makes this season hard. Pronounce Mireille. I'm used to it. Oh, thank you. Thank you for telling me how to pronounce your name. Hopefully I said it better that time. Thank you for your grace. Okay, so in self-discovery, what do we focus on? So remember, I talked about in season 1 of grief and even in 2, the stakes feel high, right? I was afraid. I was afraid of making so many decisions because it was just me. I was afraid that if I made the wrong decision, I was going to be bankrupt, and then I was going to be homeless, and then my kids' lives were going to be ruined, and on and on and on and on. Like, we catastrophize everything. And so what we learn to do in self-discovery, what I teach people to do, is how to try new things, how to take risks where the stakes feel really low, how to have a capacity for both and, which is I grow my emotional capacity to miss my life, miss my person, be sad for what was, and learn how to love my life again. It's not either or. And society doesn't understand that. A lot of times we don't understand that. So we start to feel guilty. Well, if I laugh now, it must mean I don't love my person and I don't miss them. If I try to have a future now, what are people going to say? I teach you how to navigate all of that. Okay? It's both. The answer is both. You get to grow your capacity to hold big emotions that feel opposite but are true. Okay? You plug into a community of other people that are on the same journey, and we work on proactively rebuilding your social circle. So I teach you 3 things: how to meet people, how to make friends, and how to build relationships. It's simple. And as adults, we feel like it's really hard to make new friends. And we tell ourselves all the reasons why we can't, and all the reasons why it's just, we're too old, we don't get out, we tell ourselves all the reasons why it would never work, and I teach you how to do it anyway. Okay? I teach you how to do that. All right, so when you're in self-discovery, there are a lot of things that we work on, but if I had to boil it down to just one, like if all you did was one thing, okay, in this season of grief, it would be to try something new. Deanne says, Mireille says, it has felt like there's a giant white canvas in front of me. I don't have any paint and I don't know what to throw at it to build this new life. Exactly. Deanne says, OMG, yes, the guilt of moving forward and feeling like I'm letting him go. Yes, that perfectly said. And what I help widows and widowers to do is it's both and, right? So it's learning how to step forward and how to rebuild your life in such a way that you're bringing your person's spirit along with you. You will continue to have an emotional relationship with that person the rest of your life. And I will teach you how to do that. All right. So the seasons of grief, we had rawness, isolation, self-discovery, and now we have empowerment. So in self-discovery, it sounded a little scary, but I forgot to mention we also get to have fun because you're trying new things for the first time, which is maybe a pottery class, maybe it's pickleball, maybe it's line dancing, maybe it's real estate investing. That was a new one for me. But you're trying different things to figure out what you want more of in your life. And so by the time we get to season 4, we're in the season of empowerment, which is manifestation mode. And I don't mean manifestation like woo-woo manifestation. What I mean is you have a very clear vision now of who you are, of what you want in your future, what you want more of, what you want less of. You have goals that you're setting for yourself and you are going after them. This is absolutely the best season of grief. Some mistakes that people make in this season are people pleasing, being a victim of their circumstances, and settling for less. And people pleasing is a big one. So I actually have a whole module on relationships where we talk about communication, attachment styles, boundaries. I give you some scripts. We do some role play. People pleasing is very real, especially for this group. Is it possible to bounce back and forth between stages? Yes, absolutely. And that is why ultimately I initially called it stages, and somebody said to me on accident, they said the seasons of grief. And I thought, wow, seasons is much more accurate because this is not designed to put you in a box, to slap a label on you and say you are in this container. But it's just like the weather here right now in Arkansas. It's like 40 and wintry in the morning and like 75 in the afternoon. And then tomorrow it might be 80 and the next day it might be 50. And so these seasons are very transitional back and forth. So I see this very much as the same as people kind of going between the seasons. That's fine. What this helps you do is just think about this like building blocks, right? So remember how I said the very first building block is often here, emotional healing. So we start with season 1 and we work on all the things in season 1. And then as we feel that that's a good foundation, we move on to season 2 and we work on the things in season 2 and we keep building on top of those those foundational things so that it doesn't feel like we're constantly imploding and falling back down to the beginning and we haven't done any work there. Oh my gosh. I feel this in my soul. Mireille says, okay, I could relate to every one of these stages. I don't feel as weird now. You know, being weird is not a bad thing. It's totally fine. Jenny says, that's why moving on scares me. I'm glad you just said that. Yes. I feel bad that I can't tell my girlfriend how bad things are. Reasons for that. Am I a scumbag for not sharing? You're not a scumbag for not sharing. And I think that you want to be open with them. And also, there's an art to it, right? Of not making them feel like the third wheel now in your relationship. And so that's definitely something I can help you with. Okay, so when we're empowerment, the things we want to focus on are clarifying your future desires, pursuing meaningful goals, growing yourself, and then eventually even leading or mentoring others. Okay. So if I just, though, was going to boil down this fourth season of grief, of empowerment to one thing, just if I could just tell you one thing, decide what you want more of in your life. And this is also really helpful if you're like, I don't know what I want for my future. I don't know what I want to see. I don't know yet. Think about what you want more of in your life. How would you describe it? Would you want more adventure? Do you want more gentleness? Do you want more time freedom? Do you want more travel? Like any words that come to mind, what you want more of, we start to build that in. And Susan says, I want him back. And my heart goes out to you because I totally understand why it feels like that. And in the early days of grief or in the earlier seasons of grief, it absolutely does. And Susan, what I want you to know, the reason I share all 4 seasons of grief is because I want you to know that it doesn't always have to feel that way. That it might feel that way right now, that you want to go to the past and that you have like the future seems pointless and hopeless. But I just want to encourage you that it won't always be that way. Jenny says, I feel the same, Susan. I want my person back too. You know what? That makes you a normal human being. It does. Makes you a normal human. So I want to tell you real quick about one of my clients, Sue. Sue's an OG Brave Widow. I almost said Brave Widower, but that wouldn't be accurate. She's a OG Brave Widow client, friend for life. She's been with me 3 years now. And when I first met Sue, she hated being called a widow. And I totally understood that because I hated it too. I felt like it was a label, like a black label. And I felt that widows were just old, sad cat ladies, like 90 years old, sitting in their house, just being sad. And that wasn't me. I didn't resonate with that. I have since learned the error of my ways. And I sense now wear that title of widow as a badge of honor because I know what it means to be a widow. I know what it means, the resiliency, the generosity, the service, the non-judgmental attitude so many of them have. Like being a widow is like, wow, I'm proud to be part of that community. I'm so proud of my Brave Widow tribe. But when I first met Sue, she hated being called a widow. She wasn't sure about the future. She felt really lonely and disconnected. And as I've worked with her and as we've walked this journey together, Sue was able to travel to new places she'd never been before on her own. She also has written and co-authored. She wrote and authored a best-selling book on her own. And then she has 2 more that she co-authored as best-selling books. She's very active in several communities that are centered on growth, and she leads a book club. She leads a grief group. Like, she helps other people who are grieving, and she's just a beautiful picture of someone who is thriving and who is totally in their fourth season of grief. And Sue said, I used to hate being called a widow until I met Emily. Okay. We've covered a lot. So thank you for still hanging in there with me. Are you guys still with me? Are you still good? I know we covered a lot. So this, if you can see my screen, is just a recap of the 4 seasons of grief. So we had rawness, where we're in survival mode, isolation, maintenance mode, self-discovery, we're in discovery mode, and 4th is empowerment, we're in manifestation mode. Deanne says, I'm loving it. Great. Perfect. And so I love to let people know that most widows, where they find me or where they tend to get stuck is between seasons 2 and 3. They often feel like they're going back and forth, and sometimes they feel like they go all the way back to 1. Okay. So if that's you, guess what? That puts you in good company. That makes you normal. That makes you like 90% of my clients is if you're somewhere in season 2 or 3. Mireille says, yay. Yes. That's where most people find me, is somewhere between 2 and 3. And most people that I work with have tried therapy. They have tried books. They have tried grief groups, and they have tried waiting. They've tried just giving it time. Okay. One of my, Deanne's like, yep, done it all. One of my clients, Wayne, so he's a widower. People often ask if I work with widowers, and the answer is yes. And Wayne he took it upon himself to make the most beautiful testimonial video for me. So if you haven't seen it, go to Brave Widow and watch it. I was so humbled. And Wayne, some of the things that he said was he was going to grief groups and he was going to counseling every single day. And he was ready to give up because he felt like it didn't matter if he was going to counseling, he was going to grief share, like he was just felt like he was getting more and more depressed every single day. And another thing he said was that Emily gave me hope when I had no hope. And I am so honored to have walked this journey with him. And the past few months, Wayne's been in my group. He went through this program. This is where he started with me, was going through grief recovery class. He came to my class. He was recommended by another client of mine, Allison. By the second week of the class, he sent me an email. He's like, what else do you do? Like, this is good, but what else can you help me with? And he signed up as a client, and now he's part of the academy. Jenny says, I saw that and it was so good and encouraging. Yeah. So what I want you to walk away with today is that you don't need more time. And so if you watch any of the stories on the website or on my YouTube channel, one theme that you'll hear consistently is that time on its own does not help you heal your grief or move forward. It's time plus action that makes all the difference. And I think about it as like, if I was going to go to the gym because I want to lift weights and be stronger, it takes time. I can't just go work out for like 4 hours straight and lift a bunch of weights and magically I'm stronger. Like, it does take time. I have to go consistently, but it's not just time, right? Because if I just gave it time and I sat on the couch, I'm not getting any stronger. It's time plus action that gives me different results. It's no different in processing your grief and choosing to build a life that you can enjoy again. Jenny says, I didn't have a great experience in one-on-one counseling. I wasn't able to open up and share. Yeah, so I think counseling and therapy are very helpful, can be very helpful. The trick with that, if I can even say it that loosely, is finding someone who's knowledgeable about grief and finding someone who's just a good fit. Like, you have a good personality fit. And that's hard because you're meeting someone you don't know, you're trying to open up about vulnerable things, and it's hard to get a feel for if you're a good fit with that person. That's why I do these lives. That's why I do the free podcast, and I have hundreds of hours of free stuff out there because I want people to be able to feel like, yeah, I like this person. I like her accent. I like how she talks, or like, no, it's annoying. I can't handle it. Like, you get that up front. Okay, so just recapping what I shared earlier, the problems and the challenges. Deanne says, I've done it all and I'm still stuck. Well, Deanne, I can help you. That's my specialty, is getting people unstuck. So the problems that we face that I mentioned in the very beginning are that we are lost, we are unsure, and we feel lonely. And so if we just crosswalk those, then the solution is we need guidance, we need confidence, and we need connection. What that looks like inside of Brave Widow is we provide coaching, we take action to rebuild confidence, and we have a strong community that helps give you that sense of connection there. Okay. So I told you in the beginning, in less than 60 minutes, you're going to know your season and your next step, which is what I shared with you in our discussion today. And your job is to decide if you want help, if you want to continue forward with help in these 4 seasons of grief. On the podcast, I do a deep dive on every single season individually on 4 different episodes and what to focus on in each one. You're welcome to go and study those. But if you would like help, if you would like guidance, then I would love to invite you to join me in the Brave Widow Academy. Deanne says, I found myself in a friend zone with my therapist and didn't get any help with in-laws. Oh. Mireille says, I came to the end of myself last night and finally looked up how to build a new life post-loss, and I found your podcast. Yay! Don't give up. Do not give up. Deanne says, thank you, Emily. I look forward to it. You are so welcome. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the Academy. I know we'll probably go a little over on time, but I will share the replay of this on YouTube. And also, I'm very accessible, right? So DM me, email me, emilybravewidow.com, schedule a consult call with me. I don't put pressure on people. I don't go through this. This is the sales spiel, if you will, which is really an invitation for me to help you in the Academy, right? But there's no pressure on the consult call, and I can help give you more direct feedback on what I would do to get you unstuck and your next steps. So whether or not you decide to join, at least do the consult. I will email you your next steps, and you can take that and implement it yourself. You don't have to sign up. You're not going to hurt my feelings, okay? I feel like my people, my tribe, can we even say that these days? I don't know. I feel like my people are called to me and are join, and yeah. Okay. So if you go to bravewidow.com/academy, we're kicking off our next group of the Academy on Monday, November the 10th. We already have 5 people who have pre-enrolled and who are ready to start on Monday. Our calls are on Mondays from 3 to 5 Central Time. So if you're Eastern, that's 4 to 6. If you're on Mountain Time, it's 2 to 4. Pacific Time is 1 to 3. Okay. So our calls are every Mondays. They're 2 hours. I generally teach the first hour content. And then the second hour, I do live interaction and coaching with people in the group. And if you want to know what the process is, Jenny says, I work until 4. Would I be able to join a few minutes late? Yes, absolutely. That's no problem. And we do recorded replays, so you won't have to feel like you're missing out on part of the call. So in the curriculum of the Brave Widow Academy, I like things that are very structured and outlined. And I like to nerd out around psychology and how grief works and why it's hard and what we can do to calm our nervous system and all of that stuff. So if you also like to learn those things, you will love the Academy. First, we start with Healing Your Heart, which is grief recovery method. And That's one of the very first things that we work on or that I get you plugged into, because I have to limit how many people can be in one group at one time just for this, because this is a separate program. So when we kick off the academy, we actually start with how to escape, how to get out of survival mode. And I have a system called the Chaos to Calm Blueprint. So that's the first module we work through. I teach you how to rebuild your confidence with the self-trust system, how to meet people and make friends with the connection protocol, how to find purpose and meaning, the discover your purpose plan, and ultimately how to create a life that you love with the move forward method. So those are all the different systems and modules that we work through. Susan asked how many weeks. So it's a 6-month program. So some of these modules are, I would say, 4 weeks. Some are 6 weeks, just kind of depending on which one that we're in. But overall, the academy is 6 months long. And here are some things that people had to say about it, but I also encourage you to go to bravewidow.com and watch some of the video testimonials and read some of the comments from people. I also hosted a session for people who are in the academy that started in August. I held a session today and I asked them, what's working well about it? What would you change about it? And what would you tell people who are on the fence about it? And so later this week, I'm going to reveal some of the things that they shared. I took fast and furious notes so that you guys can hear from or read from, I'll say, people who are in it right now. The first group had 15 people in it. Do we need the Grief Recovery Handbook before the course starts, Riley? No, you do not. I am going to ship it to you, so it will be included. And this course, I have sold separately for $400. It's an 8-week. This is an 8-week program that I walk people through. So I have sold it separately for $400, but if you sign up for the academy, that is included, and I will ship you your book. That is included as well. So you don't have to worry about that at all. And you're also going to get Riley, because I think you signed up. Yep, you signed up to start Monday. Riley is in the academy. Come join Riley and 4 other of our Brave Widow peeps. And so, Riley, you're actually going to get a whole Brave Widow Academy. You're going to get a swag. I don't know what to call it, like a kit, a packet. But I have all kinds of Brave Widow Academy swag things I'm sending your way, plus a pep rally kit as well that you'll be getting with some secret things in there. But yeah, it's an academy. We have to have a pep rally. One of my coaches was like, is it appropriate to have a pep rally for people joining a grief thing, the Brave Widow Academy? And I'm like, of course. We don't have to cry in every session. Okay, so joining the academy, it is a one-time investment of $3,000 to join the academy. This is a 6-month program, and this has been my favorite offer that I've ever done inside of Brave Widow, and the most accessible offer, because even though it's a group program, you're still going to get some one-on-one time with me. And every week we have a way of monitoring your progress where you let me know what's a win you had for the week, how you're rating some of the different areas that we work on, and then also anything else that you might want guidance on or need help with or troubleshooting, so that I can give you that feedback directly. And you have one-on-one private messaging access with me. So I use an app called Telegram. You can send me a text, a voice message, a video message, pictures. You can send me a screenshot and say, ugh, I just got this text from my sister-in-law. How do I respond to this? You can message me 24/7, anytime. Now, I will respond Monday through Friday, but you can text me at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep and say, hey, do you have any tips for how I can sleep at night? So even though it's a group program, I've created it in a way that you personally can get one-on-one support. And so, Riley, that's one thing I think on our to-do list is I want to make sure that you're able to get Telegram downloaded and we get you in the group so that we can do that. Jenny, I want to join, but my grief group, which I do love, is every 6 weeks on Monday. Well, Jenny, just think about it because we also do the replays. And so even if you had to, I don't know if you're saying if it's 6 weeks in a row or it's just every 6 weeks, but you can still join. If you, so I do offer a payment plan. That was a question here. But if you decide to pay in full for the Academy, then you will save $600. And also, I'm going to send you a Brave Widow hoodie or sweatshirt. You get to choose. Every 6 weeks. Oh, well, just think about it. I'll plant that little seed. And then, covered a lot today. And then your guarantee. Okay. So this is my guarantee. It's on the website. It's also right here. You can screenshot it. Is that if you will come to the sessions, you will make progress over these 6 months, or I will work with you for free until you do. And how do I know you're making progress? Because we track progress every week. We have a way of you to track progress and memorialize your wins and to track the things that you're working on. And it's a very simple process, so it's not overwhelming. I carve out time to do it on the call so that you can do that. And so we track confidence, we track relationships, we track how you're processing grief, we track how you feel about your routine, and we track your sense of purpose and your sense of meaning. And so you're going to rate those on a scale of 1 to 10 every week. We're going to put in some notes and we're going to be able to show and reflect on your scores and how you rated things in the beginning and all the way through the 6 months. And that's how I know if you're struggling, right? Like if you're normally rating things 4s and 5s, and then one week you come in and it's like all 2s, then I know like, oh, this person rated things all 2s. Something's going on. I need to reach out to this person and figure out like what has happened this week and help them get back on track. I think that's one of the biggest benefits to this program is that you have guidance. You're not doing this lost and alone and fumbling around. Like you have someone telling you like, okay, here's the next step. Here's what we need to do. Get back on track. Like it's okay. Can we do a consult with you prior to starting Monday? Deanne asked. Yes, absolutely. And anyone can schedule a consult. Go to bravewidow.com. This is actually, I'll show you how to schedule a consult. Here's what I'll say. I have a lot of things that are scheduled this week. So if you are having a hard time finding a time to do a consult, shoot me an email. It's emily@bravewidow.com. Let me know the days and times that are best for you, and I will do my best to make it work. I will do my best to meet with you before it starts next Monday. Okay. So if you go to the website, bravewidow.com, you click on the button that says Let's Chat. Then you can pick a day and time that you want to schedule your consult call here. All you put in is your name, your email, and you can pick. You can do a Zoom call like we're doing Zoom right now, or you can just do a phone call. Some people are a little camera shy, and that's okay. I will call you on the phone. And then at the bottom of that pink button that got cut off just says book. And that's all you do. You schedule your call. And here is where I've just left a few comments of what people have said about the program. And so I have clients who signed up when they were only 3 weeks out from having lost their person. I have people who have signed up who have been many years out. Okay. And so we know that saying grief, there's no timeline in grief, which is true. But that's why I created the seasons of grief and I created a roadmap, because the person who's 7 years out may still be in season 1. They may still be struggling. They may still feel stuck. But my goal is to help meet every person where they are right now and help them take the next best step for them. And so when you sign up for the Academy, You get access to all the recordings that I've done for the prior Mastermind and Academy. So let's say you're like, oh, I want to go ahead and start working on relationships, or I want to go ahead and start learning this now. Or maybe you're like, I wanted to watch all the videos 3 times. And there are some people who just love to like really get in all the content. You don't have to do any of that, but it's available to you. If you're like, oh, I want to know what she's going to teach about relationships, I want to go ahead and watch some of these videos before she teaches it live, you can do that. All right. So I know we ran over time. Thank you. You guys are amazing. Deanne says, I scheduled a consult just now. Thank you, Emily. You're so welcome. Debbie says, thank you for the information. You're welcome. Thankful to have found you. I'm thankful that you found me too. I'm really glad that you're here. And whatever you decide, like, I would just be honored to help you figure out your exact next step. Mireille says, thank you for the information. I feel more hope knowing this is available. Yes, I am so happy to hear that. That has been one of my goals from the very beginning, is just to give people hope, to plant that tiny little seed that it can be better, different than it is right now. The thing about it is that you get to decide if you want to rebuild your life. It's not always easy, but we can make it simple. Okay. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be all of those things. But I also know sometimes people think that means, oh, it's just so easy. And I know it's not easy, but I can boil it down and make it simple for you. Okay. Where it's doable. It's not overwhelming. It's one step at a time. Carrie says, I lost my wife of 40 years last Thanksgiving, only 60 years old myself, and still going through it. Carrie, I'm so sorry to hear that. And I know with Thanksgiving coming up that that's going to be hard. Like, that's going to be a hard day. I would love to see you in the academy and be able to surround you and support you as you're going through the holidays and you're going through some of those milestone days. Deanne says, I agree, Mireille. You took the words out of my mouth. I feel hopeful. Yes, amazing. Thank you guys so much. I loved hanging out with you today. I hope that you were able to walk away with at least one thing that you can start focusing on now. The academy starts on Monday, and I would love for you to be able to go through Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and Easter and all of those holidays, knowing that you are fully supported and guided and not trying to figure it out on your own. Okay. It doesn't have to be that way. For now, I will say goodbye, but I would love to chat with you. DM me, email me, schedule a consult, and I will see you in the academy. Bye. Hey, Carrie. No worries if you missed it. The free play will go out